Hello, dear colleagues and students. We are really pleased to be with you today, presenting our research, Learning to Learn strategies in students of the BA in ELT. First of all, I will explain the problem. The program of the BA in ELT at the Benemérita Universidad Autónoma de Puebla establishes that students will attain a B2 level at the end of the program. However, we can see that the students have problems to attain the proficiency established, and in everyday situations, we see problems with accuracy and a lack of voluntary participation when the use of English is involved. Actually, the number of students who attain the certification, at the B2 level is reduced. It obviously has to do with the development of autonomy and mainly the development of learning to learn strategies. Therefore, the purpose of this study is to understand the development of learning to learn strategies in students of the BA in ELT. The research questions are students aware of what it takes to attain certification levels? What prevents learners from developing learning to learn strategies? Do opportunities to use the language and evaluation criteria help learners realize their communicative and linguistic weaknesses and strengths? We adopted a qualitative approach, and the method used was phenomenology. Therefore, the development of learning to learn strategies is seen as a phenomenon. We use in-depth interviews, and for this we develop a semi-structured questionnaire which contain 34 questions which cover 5 dimensions: the background, goal setting, autonomy, self-assessment, and certification. The subjects were 6 students, at the last stages in the BA in English ELT. Their ages ranged between 21 and 25 years old. Now, Jonathan will continue with the presentation.
Thank you. The Modelo Universitario Minerva is the response from the Benemérita Universidad Autónoma de Puebla to the current challenges. It is based on 2 main paradigms, the humanism and the socio-cultural constructivism theory. The former referring to the development of values such as autonomy, such as critical thinking and self-confidence in the students, and the latter referring to the construction of reality of participants based on their background, interaction with other students, and by means of authentic tasks. Also, at the same time, international trends such as the lifelong learning proposed by the United Nations of Education, Science, and Culture Organization has a huge impact in the development and modification of this program. Described by Jacques Delors, he defines that learning is a complete process which is not oriented to just a specific population nor to a specific period of time, but as a continuous development of competencies for all members of society and in all their lives, for all their lives. Next, please. So here we have curriculum defined by Braslavsky as a social contract, which which establishes the objectives. At the same time, it specifies that students should undergo certain experiences and practices, the conditions that make them take actions, develop decision making. And in our context of Facultad de Lenguas, students might face problems such as language problems, linguistic gaps, in which students should take actions to solve them. These emerging problems, they should also be evaluated. Each action that is accomplishing a assessment process, and at the same time will satisfy objectives and fulfill communicative competence. Next, please. Language awareness is a point which is important to emphasize. Awareness is described or defined by Jeffrey as understanding what's occurring around you. And language awareness refers to a conscious engagement process in which students understand where they have to go and what it's necessary to do. Next, so students should understand the actions that they should take in order to satisfy their own objectives and the curricular program goals. Next, please. In this context, language strategies are defined on the one hand as behaviors, techniques, and goals that allow students get involved in their own learning process, and on the other hand, there are specific actions that allow them satisfy or overcome emerging problems. Next, please. They are also defined as a form of activity which is used in response to problems every time problems arise. They are defined by Rebecca Oxford as making the learning process easier, faster, more enjoyable, and by Macaro as all the action that can be immediate, long-term, observable, and unobservable that make them fulfill all these emerging problems. Next, please. It is also important to define what is the learner strategies, which is individual or chosen, and there are set of strategies that students select to overcome specific problems. Learning strategies, which are normally related to a specific content or a specific subject, and finally, language learning strategies referring to language problems or communication breakdowns. Next, please. Rebecca Oxford identifies in her taxonomy two main categories that are direct on the one hand and indirect strategies on the other hand, as we can see here. Next, please. Direct strategies refer to all those strategies which involve the use of language, the use and manipulation of language, such as cognitive, referring to all the mental processes, compensation, like overcoming knowledge gaps. For example, body language is a good example of this kind of strategies, and memory-related strategies are all the ones that allow students process information. Next, please. On the other hand, the other set of strategies, indirect strategies, refer to the ones that are not involving language per se, but the use of it, such as metacognitive, referring to the process of planning, monitoring, and evaluating their own cognitive process, and which is well, these set of characteristics is recognized as the most important for language learners. They refer also to searching consciously for language spaces where students can practice and develop their own language. Affective, referring to the emotional strategies, and social, the ones that deal with interaction with other speakers. Next one, please. It is established by the official program of the BA in ELT that students, after taking Lengua Meta 4, which is shown here in this diagram, they will have developed a B2 level. The majority of students take this subject during the second year. So after having taken all these English learning classes, they might have an estimate of 860 hours of formal instruction. They will still have another language learning class, which is oriented to academic English, plus around 19 content classes of different areas, such as linguistics, pedagogy, or cultural subjects. And in the end of this process, students will have accumulated an estimate of 2,256 hours, next one, which should be enough not only for a B2, but for C2. As described by DeVaux, he mentions that it is necessary to carry on or to follow up a 500 to 600 hours of informal instruction in order to reach B2 level. So next one. So if the amount of hours is not enough, the instruction by professionals in the fields of linguistics, English learning, and pedagogy will reinforce it, will make it better. So in the results, we can see that based on the background, some students have the chance to have exposure to the language, even to take formal classes as it is possible. As we can see in participant 1, 2, and 6, participant 1 who had the chance to study English since early stages, and participant 2 who apparently took only six language courses before getting enrolled. Participant 3, 4, and 5 under similar conditions. For example, 4 even mentioned that he didn't have any formal instruction before getting enrolled in the BA in ELT. Next, please. Their experiences before registering are also important because they develop beliefs and thoughts, also as well as habits in the use and study of language. Participant 1 mentioned that she had interaction with other speakers of English, but she didn't really focus on the accuracy of the use of language. The student participant 2 also, it's very important to analyze what she says. The feedback she normally received was not the best that it made it get intimidated. He created certain beliefs about English practice. Next one, please. And participant 4, as mentioned before, he had first contact with English until he got enrolled. So similar condition with participant 5, who only took classes in high school or secondary school. Next one. And participant 6, who revalidated courses. She studied at a private university, and then she used her revalidated courses at Facultad de Lenguas. Although their experiences might seem to be different, as we see, participant 1, 2, and 6, they claim to have studied English before. They claim to have had formal instruction in English differently from participant 3, 4, and 5. At the moment they were placed, they took the placement test. They weren't that. They were placed not that in different classes. As we can see, the equivalent, it refers to English 2, which is it's referent to a A2 level. For participant 1 and participant 2, who took 6 language courses, and participant 1, who claimed she had studied English for many years before getting enrolled. So the position was not that different from participants 3, 4, and 5, which were placed in the first class. Next one, please. About their goals before starting the VA, some of them mentioned that English was not their priority. Some of them pictured themselves as an English teacher. Next one. And some others just aim to go for exchange programs. But they don't really mention, next one, how what actions they would take or they were taking to achieve the goal. They actually don't really mention a specific level they aim to achieve. Some of these actions, which we try which we collect from them, are some of them work with music, they work with films, they practice grammar with their books, which is not really enough at the level that the BA in ELT requires. Next one, please. To fulfill a B2 level. For example, participant 4, as also can be seen in participant 6, which she also mentioned that she had to take extra courses to reinforce the level. Next, please. Participant 5 mentioned something similar. So regarding the level or how they prove their development of English, we can observe that any of them consider certification. Only one participant out of 6 attempted to present a certification in order to complete her studies abroad. The rest just base their level according to online tests, according to trainers or quasi-certifications. Next one, please. About their achievement, they also express they may feel unsatisfied. They feel they haven't achieved their goals they set at the beginning of the degree, or the ones that the BA in ELT demands. Next, please. And when we ask what is necessary for you to achieve this B2 level, they require more classes. They require more hours of instruction after the huge amount we mentioned, which is around 2,000 hours of formal instruction. Next, please. So many of them mention that university should create more courses for them to accomplish the B2 level, for them to achieve the certification. Conclusions about this of this research, we have found that at this point it's impossible to determine whether students understand or not the necessary actions they have to take in order to complete B2 level. Only 1 out of 6 seems to understand what they have to do. She is the only one who have already had a passed or taken a certification. So there is no evidence enough to demonstrate proficiency level in other students. Many of them just show their development based on online tests or not rigorous processes. Next one, please. The problem, the lack of rigorosity in the classes and the lack of a standard exam makes students do not recognize or employ efforts that accomplish the actual goal or the actual requirement from the BA in ELT. Students also pointed out that there is no standard evaluation criteria in order to pass to different, to following levels of English. And also the feedback provided by teachers does not seem to be oriented to encourage them to pursue quality criteria, that is certification levels. Next one. And finally, opportunities. The context should create opportunities for students to interact, to practice, and to understand, to become aware of their weaknesses and strengths. However, many participants claim that the majority of interaction, either inside or outside the classroom, it's only in Spanish. They tend to avoid interaction in English, and Spanish seems to be the way in which they interact either inside or outside the class. And they might not have enough opportunities to practice, to use a second language. Also, they might not have a standard level where to base their own. Next one. So we can assume that as long as the university does not integrate and the standard certification, students might not recognize the necessary actions that they have to take in order to pursue international criteria and international goals, as well as their own goals. Let's also mention that certification can be a condition that allow them participate in exchange programs and in master's programs, but also it can be a limitation that might not let them be involved even in job opportunities in the future of these exchange programs.
Well, that was our presentation. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.